You're showing us the way.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Saturday. I am Kimberly Holmes Ross with Evanston Cradles to Career, where we partner with over 40 organizations to make Evanston the most equitable place it can be. So you know what time it is. It's time for community coffee. Please take a moment and share this. Share, share, share. We want as many people to know about what we're doing and share our resources and our interesting things we think with you. We co-host the show with Radio La Difference, our community radio station. So not only are we able to share this with our Facebook Live family, we're able to share it with our Radio La Difference family, which is global around the world. So we get to share Evanston with the Caribbean, over in Europe. This is a global radio station. So how cool is that? And where else? Only in Evanston. Radio La Difference is located in the 5th Ward, and we are just so happy to be able to use this platform. So thank you, Radio La Difference. Thank you, Radio La Difference audience. We can't see them on the feed, but we know they are there, and we have a huge following with them. And as always, thank you, our Facebook Live audience who gets up every Saturday for coffee with us. So this morning I'm dressed, it's trick-or-treat weekend, and I'm giving a nod to our city employees. I got my badge on and my hat, so I'm giving a nod to EPD. I know they're gonna be busy this trick-or-treat weekend, so I thought it was just appropriate to put on some trick-or-treat gear. And before I throw it to the advocates, because our advocates lead our community coffee, I dressed as a city employee because we have a city official with us today. We have our own Mayor Biss with us today. And before we get started, I just was going to ask Mayor Biss, what was your favorite trick or treat as being mayor? So what was maybe your trick, your biggest surprise as being mayor? And what was your treat? What was the best thing, or the thing that was a treat for you?
Well, first of all, number one, thank you for having me this morning. Number two, no thank you for not giving me the memo about a costume. I'm just dressed as a mayor. It's a big fail on my part, and I apologize. Next time I will dress appropriately. Unfortunately, I think the I'm going to have to start on an extremely somber and serious note. The trick, if you want to call it that, the disappointing surprise that hit me hard during my first 6 months as mayor was when we learned that there had been I think it's fair to call it an epidemic of sexual misconduct among lakefront employees, and that we, we're still doing an investigation to get to the bottom of it, but it sure seems at this point like we didn't do what we needed to keep our own people safe, and that's been obviously a very, very painful thing to come to grips with, and it's a huge amount of work to make sure that we actually make things right moving forward. So that's been obviously a painful thing to deal with. On the other hand, there's been a ton of treats, and the biggest one has just been the number of people in this community who are so ready to step up and make a difference. It is unbelievable. And I know this community. I've lived here a long time. I serve this community as a legislator. I thought I got it, but until I became the mayor and just saw how in every corner of Evanston there are such passionate and committed organizations stepping up and giving their time to make things better, it's really magical. And it just reminds me that when we're all on the same page, there's just nothing we can't do. There's nothing we can't do. And so my job really is just to help get people on the same page so we can deploy all of that person power to make things better.
Thank you for sharing that, because yes, Evanston can be tricky, but there's a lot of treats as well. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to our host this morning, and we're going to get started. Go ahead, Ty.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor. Again, thank you, Mayor Biss, for being here. And thank you for actually kicking us off with that, because that's part of some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. But before we get into that, I just wanted to know what brought you to want to be the mayor of Evanston. So you've done other things, but here you are back in Evanston. Talk to us about what made you want to come and be here and be the mayor of this town.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I have done other different things. I've always been here. This has all been home. My kids were born here, and they've always been in District 65 schools until next year when we'll have an ETHS kid, which I'm not ready for, but that's how it is. But politically, I was kind of other places, and what I came to feel in 2020 was that this is just a unique moment for local government on so many different levels. Obviously, number one is the pandemic, right? The incredible need and the difference that it makes for people's ability to live if you do local government right. But I don't think it ends there. I think, as we had a summer of pain and protest and ferment around questions of racial justice and public safety, that's just such an opportunity for local government to get things right and make a difference, and for a place like Evanston to be a model for cities across the region, across the state, and even across the country as we're dealing with questions of housing, how to make a community like Evanston that people want to live in and want to stay in affordable. I mean, if we get these things right, we're just making such a big difference for people. And I felt like it was a great, an exciting opportunity to do good. And so I decided to step up and run for mayor, and here we are.
And here we are, and we are glad to have you there, Biss. Thank you so much. Talk to us about, you spoke a little bit about, the controversy, if I may, with what's been going on with, the city workers at the beach. But I know that earlier in the year, there were some articles, and then more recently, a couple of weeks ago, we're talking about this change and possible change of moving from the council manager government versus the strong manager government. Talk to us about the difference in those two and the plus and minuses of it, because I feel like we don't really know as constituents what is the difference. And I don't know if everyone knows that there is a difference. So talk to us about that, please.
Yeah, for sure. This is one of these issues that, just let me be honest, no normal person spends 2 seconds thinking about this issue. We go about our lives, we worry about our tax bill and affordable housing and safety and all that and city services, but hey, what's the structure of the city government is not a question that usually kind of occurs to you as you're heading over to pick up your kid at school at 3:30 in the afternoon. So I'll give an answer to the question, but I want to start with the very simple answer. There's been a lot of rumors out there that there's some kind of secret plan to change the form of government, and actually there isn't. At least if there is, it's secret from me. I don't think it's something we ought to do. I think it's a great conversation to have. I think it's a healthy, good discussion to have and to be open-minded about. But my view is that it would be really disruptive to kind of blow up our form of government and replace it with something else. And I don't think I think there's more people talking as if there's a push to do it than an actual push to do it. And the reason I start there is because there are some people who are really nervous about it. And I just want to put folks' minds to rest that there's not some day where the big reveal is coming and all of a sudden all the planning that's been done behind the scenes is going to become visible, and then bam, we're going to change our form of government. That's just not the case. What we have in Evanston, which is what most communities that are our size or smaller have, so like all of our neighboring communities except for Chicago have this form of government. It's called the council manager form of government, and it's really different than what Chicago has, which is what's called a strong mayor form of government, which is, I think, what most people kind of assume is how government works. So in Chicago, it's kind of simple. You elect the mayor, and then she runs the government. And so I think people kind of assume we have that here. And the way I could tell that is the day after I got elected, I got a lot of resumes from people who wanted to get hired. They thought that, hey, Daniel got elected mayor, he can hire me now. Well, I can't, because we don't have the strong mayor form of government. I don't run the day-to-day operation of the government. I don't hire people. I don't fire people. I don't manage the programs themselves. We have a council manager form of government where the city council and I hire a city manager, and then there's a division of responsibilities. Her job is to run the government. She's like the CEO, basically. She has, and this is written into state law, she has total authority over hiring and firing and management. And then what we, the city council, led by me, have is the authority to set policy. So we set the vision and the policy, we make the plans, we say go in this direction, and then her job is to go off and run that. So I don't get to hire people or fire people. And so one advantage of this system that we have is I don't think it's any secret that in a lot of governments, if somebody helps you get elected, maybe they made big campaign contributions, maybe they're your closest advisor, well, then you get in and you give them some fancy job. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden we'd be hiring, let's say a director of our Health and Human Services Department, not based on who knows best how to run a Health and Human Services Department, but rather based on who gave the biggest contribution during the campaign to the guy who happened to get elected mayor. Mm-hmm. That's a bad problem that occurs in the other system, and it's a problem that this system avoids. It kind of depoliticizes the management of government. So that's a plus, and I think an important plus of our system of government. But there is another side to it, and I want to be honest about this, which is that in the other form of government, the strong mayor form of government, if something is wrong about how the city is being managed and you don't like it, you have a very simple recourse, mm-hmm. which is you vote against the mayor the next time there's an election. Mm-hmm. And in our form of government, the accountability that we have to you, in other words, the accountability the elected officials have to the people, is a little muddier. Because you can come to me and say, I think that the Health and Human Services Department is being run poorly, and I'll say, yeah, I agree, but it's not my choice who runs it. So go complain to the city manager. You can go complain to the city manager, but you can't vote against her because she doesn't run for office. Mm. And so the upside of the system of government we have is it depoliticizes the management of government, and that allows us to have a more professional system where you're not worried about, hey, is somebody in there because they made a big donation to the candidate who won the mayor's race. The downside is that if you don't do it properly, sometimes people can feel like there's less accountability, like the government is more insulated from the people. And you know what? Those are two sides of the same coin, right? Mm-hmm. Insulating the government from politics is kind of a negative frame on insulating the government from people and accountability. And so mm-hmm. our job is to lift up the fact that we can't have political meddling in our government, which is a good thing, but still make sure that the people have full control. There's real accountability. And the test that I would suggest people ought to be putting me to is to say, don't allow elected officials, both me and the council, to hide behind the staff and say, oh, I agree with you, but there's nothing I can do. Too bad. That's a real bummer. You elected us to figure out a way to solve the important problems and hold us accountable to make sure that we do that.
That is good. Thank you so much. I feel like that's very informative. It's kind of bringing it down so we can understand it, because there is talk. There has been talk like, oh, the mayor's coming in. He wants to change this and he's going to come in and do that. I feel like that's the article that I read earlier this year. But then this year I read a little bit more. It was just talking about it. So thank you for that clarity. And as an elected official in holding you guys accountable, I know that, and this may not be the right term, so correct me if I'm wrong, there is some American Rescue Plan dollars, is that what it's called? Exactly. That is allocated to the city of Evanston. I've been hearing about it. What is the city of Evanston doing about it, and who gets to decide? Is that the city manager? Is it the elected officials, or is it a collective effort?
Yeah, thank you. This is a real potential game changer for us. So the American Rescue Plan Act, right now, obviously, as we talk in late October, it seems like, knock on wood, that Congress and President Biden are on the cusp of passing two more bills. Mm-hmm. The American Rescue Plan Act is not that. That's the one that was passed much earlier in the Biden administration. It was kind of the first kind of coronavirus recovery package they put together. It included a lot of direct aid, just cash gifts, basically, to municipal governments. And the city of Evanston got $43 million, which is amazing. It's a really significant amount of money for us. We're allowed to use it for, obviously, first and foremost, for health, both direct kind of pandemic contact tracing, testing, vaccine, stuff like that, but also mental health. We know that there's been a real, I would say, a tragic, both an increase in mental health challenges and also kind of more visibility about mental health challenges, in part because of the isolation and anxiety that came out of the pandemic. So that's one bucket, is for health. One is for economic recovery. Obviously, we've had tremendous economic challenges that came out of the fact that everybody stayed home for a year. And so making sure the recovery is handled in a way that is both robust and equitable is absolutely critical. There's funding in there for some infrastructure projects. There's funding in there for revenue loss, right? The city is reliant on things like sales tax revenue, and people stopped going out and shopping for a year. And in general, government revenues tanked. And because of that, for example, the city of Evanston laid off a lot of people. That has left us, if I'm being honest, less able to provide the services that the residents have come to expect because we've lost a lot of folks. And so there's also just revenue loss, replace that money that's missing so we can provide the services of government. And then there's the opportunity to provide some basically hazard pay for frontline workers who are forced to continue working in person and in contact with others and put themselves at risk. So those are the categories. And the decision officially is the city council's decision. The city cannot spend money without city council approval. But in practice, it's a really collaborative decision that we have to make, in my opinion. Now, part of that is a collaboration between the council and me and our staff, right? And again, in this form of government, we set the vision and the direction, but the staff are there on the day-to-day, so we have to have a really close relationship to even understand the day-to-day needs properly in order to make those decisions. And I'm pleased about the way those conversations have been going, but I wouldn't stop there. And I think it's critical that we have a collaborative process with the community as well. And part of that's because the community deserves to have their voice heard when important decisions are made. But you know what? Part of that's because this isn't really our specialty. It's not like the city of Evanston can say, well, we'll think back to the 8 other times the Fed sent us $43 million and learn from what we did well then and what we did poorly then. No, this is a once in a lifetime situation. And so we don't have a ton of muscle memory that we can just kind of, do this. I think we need to really think carefully about how to make this one-time investment. So they're not going to do it again, right? It's a one-time investment to change their trajectory, right? If we just expand programs, then when this money's gone, either those programs will be gone or else we'll have a huge budget challenge. And so we need to think about how to make this decision in a way that what we set up is sustainable. So these are difficult decisions that I think we will get wrong unless the community's at the table. And so we've had a lot of discussions. I've been really pleased to partner with the Evanston Community Foundation, and certainly Evanston Cradle to Career was at the front seat of that effort. We've had, I think now, 4 community town halls, 7 roundtables. The Community Foundation has put together, based on all of that input, a really helpful report that talks about feedback that we got from all kinds of different community stakeholders. And this is ongoing. We've allocated so far, something like 10% of the funding. And so we're still involved in a lot of discussions in public. So for example, this Monday and two nights from tonight, we're going to have a city council meeting with 2 agenda items, one of which is, let's just talk about this money. Let's continue to talk about ideas that have come to us, potentially vote to allocate some portions of it to specific things that council's willing to consider already. And I would ask people to stay in the conversation and to share ideas, share feedback, share encouragement about, hey, this is a good idea, and frankly, share maybe don't do this as well, because we need that guidance and feedback as we make these decisions.
Thank you so much. And I have one follow-up question to that, because that's good. Like, we want the constituents, the people of Evanston, they want to be involved, right? We want to know what's happening with these dollars. Everyone, $43 million, like everyone has an idea what to do with $43 million, right? And you say, thank you for saying that you want the people to be involved. And so I want to know, you said there's a meeting on Monday, there's council meetings. How do we as advocates push people to get involved? Where do we tell them to get involved? Is it with their aldermen? Is it at these council meetings? Like, where do we push them so you can hear their voice? And then how's the council going out to hear those voices? Like, what are the aldermen and such doing to actually capture the voice of the community?
I think the great thing about living in a community of this size is that everything works. Right? If you want to get Joe Biden's attention, I don't know the best way to do it. It seems like a hard job. And I bet that if you send an email to president@whitehouse.gov, he's not going to be reading it tonight. But in a town of this size, it's just not like that. And I would say, talk to your alderman. Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me also. Yes, absolutely. come to the city council meetings and present a public comment, sure, I think that's valuable as well. I think that's overrated sometimes. People think of that as the only approach, and it's not the only approach. We do that every council meeting because the state law tells us to, but we don't do that because we think that's the only way that folks should be able to communicate with their elected officials. That's one way. I think if you already have ideas or priorities, just write them down and email them to me and your council member or all of council, or call me up and ask for a meeting. I'll take a meeting, absolutely. We'll talk it over, and the same with your council member. If you're less sure at this point, maybe you're hearing this for the first time and you're like, $43 million. I would love to have some input over what's going to happen with that, but I don't even know how to think about that. I would say come to a council meeting. For example, the council meeting this Monday evening, and listen and hear. And maybe you'll think, this is great. These folks have it under control. Or maybe you'll think, this is a catastrophe, and they're going completely in the wrong direction. But probably you won't think either of those things. Probably you'll think, oh, they talked about 8 things, and I love 3 of them, and I think 4 of them are kind of okay, and I think one of them probably could be done better in a different way, and share that with us. So I would say, don't worry about the format. Just get in there. And if you don't know yet what you want to say, which is a totally understandable position, show up to a council meeting or reach out to someone involved in an organization that's been involved in these discussions already, whether it's Cradle to Career or a different organization, and ask them. Because there's a lot of ideas swirling out there, and I think as giant a number as $43 million sounds like, it's not going to be enough to do everything at all. Right. So we're going to have to make some hard choices. We're going to have to make some hard sort of structure or philosophy choices. Like, do we want to do a couple things really well, or try a lot of different pilots and see what works best? But then we're also going to have to make just specific choices. Like, are we going to focus more on mental health or childcare? Are we going to focus more when it comes to economic development, more on workforce development or supporting small businesses? I mean, these are just a series of choices where, in a world where they said 43 trillion and not 43 million, we just do it all. But they said 43 million, so we can do a lot, but we've got to also be smart and careful about how to pick.
Thank you. Good information. I think I've been hogging the conversation, so I have other advocates on here, and I know we don't have a lot of time. I know Jamie has a question. Jamie, did you want to go ahead and ask the question? And Donna, we'll get to you next.
Yes. So as you mentioned earlier, people don't fully understand the government structure, and they believe you have more power than you do. So how do you handle it when people blame you, the face of the city, for things that you really don't have power over?
It is a constant challenge. I'll be honest with you, Jamie. Every single day, that's an issue. And there's a few, and I try to avoid. I gave a whole speech a minute ago about, don't let me get away with saying, hey, it's the city staff's fault, it's not my fault. And so I try really hard not to do that. There's some issues where I just fundamentally disagree with the city manager, and I fight hard, and she eventually goes along with what I believe. Like, for example, we didn't have a vaccine mandate for our employees for a long time, and that was tough conversations we had behind the scenes, and I just felt it was so important that I wasn't prepared to let go of that. And eventually we reached a resolution that I think everybody's comfortable with, and we have a vaccine mandate for city employees going into effect on November 15th. So some things I'm like a dog with a bone, and I just don't let go until we get to a place that I'm comfortable. Very occasionally, I do have to say to the public, listen, the city manager and I had a disagreement. I made my opinion known, but ultimately it wasn't my decision, and we're just going to have to agree to disagree. And that happened. There was actually an article in the media the other day about the decision where the city manager and I disagreed, and I just told the press that, because I felt like I've got to be held accountable for my opinions, and if people want to also hold me accountable for not being able to persuade the city manager, that's fine. That's their right as well. And then the other thing, which is true of every single job in the world and also everything that human beings do, is I try really hard, sometimes more successfully than other times, but I try really hard to think carefully about how to prioritize. not everything can be World War III. There's just got to be moments in a government with 800 employees and $300+ million. There's going to be just times when we agree to disagree, and I have to let certain things go. And there are other times where I would be abdicating my responsibility to the community if I let things go. And I spend a lot of time every day trying to make sure that I'm prioritizing properly, that I'm understanding what needs to be just let go and move past, and I'm understanding what cannot be let go and move past. And I know that my decisions on that frustrate people, right? Sometimes people, if I have 20 people contact me about things in a given day, I can't have 20 battles that day. And so a bunch of them are going to have to be, well, good point, but I'll do my best, but no guarantees. But a couple of them are going to be, this is going to be my number one focus for the day. And getting that right, and then and being honest with people and being transparent with people about why I have chosen to devote as much or as little energy to a given issue as I have, I think is a really important part of doing my job in a way that's honest and sets my relationship with the community up for a place of, good feeling and success.
Thank you so much. I think Indona I know you have to go. Do you have time for one more question?
You bet, absolutely.
Okay, Indona, go ahead.
Good morning, Mayor Biss. It's always good to see you.
It's great to see you.
Yes. So I'm really, really concerned as a generational Fifth Ward resident with all the changes that are taking place regarding gentrification. Potentially there might be a Fifth Ward school. And I know that historically there have been a number of injustices done to this particular community. And there have actually even been promises by our city government to provide some sort of tax relief for the Black residents of the Fifth Ward. With what's taking place now, with the Black community being reduced to, from my understanding, close to 8% now, and a potential school coming in that will definitely increase the taxes in this area, are you thinking of possibly providing some sort of relief for our homeowners, and if possible, even a tax abatement? Because with all the changes, there definitely will be, more and more Black residents moving out of Evanston.
It's a great question. It's not a question for a short answer. So I'll do my best to be concise, but also give the question the respect it deserves. One thing, I just looked at the census. It's right around 16% African-American population in Evanston in the most recent census. That was a disappointingly low number, I think, for a lot of folks. It matches exactly what you said, that we've seen a decrease in our Black population, which is, I don't think you can pin that to any one specific reason, but there's no question that gentrification and unaffordability is a part of it. I don't run the school board or have any influence over them, but I do certainly support the idea of there being a school in the Fifth Ward. I think that, the effects on a community of having a neighborhood school are really, really strong, and the effects on a community of not having a school and putting everybody on a bus in different directions, right? The number of people in the Fifth Ward who not only got put on a bus to go somewhere else, but kids across the street from each other get put on different buses to go to different places. I think it really harms the community fabric in ways that are pretty serious, frankly. So I do support the idea of a Fifth Ward school. Personally, as a resident, I'm not a decision maker on that, except the city could hopefully help along a little bit. My understanding is the District 65 board is trying to explore ways to do this without having a property tax increase, because I get it. Our property taxes are high in this community, and they are part of the affordability challenge that is pushing people out. I would say from the city standpoint, we are concerned both about affordable housing, so that's just the rate at which housing is sold and rented, and about the property tax rate. And I think there are things that we can do about both, though I don't want to overpromise. When it comes to the property tax rate, first of all, I believe, can't promise yet because it hasn't happened yet, but I believe we're going to pass a budget for next year with no property tax increase at all. I think there's a lot of people on council who want to do that for a number of years in a row. Granted, the city is just a small part of your tax bill. The biggest share is District 65, and the second biggest share is District 202. So when we don't increase taxes, it doesn't make a promise about the other, whatever it is, 83%, but still that's something that we can do. And I think that though I would be cautious about having too much hope about a big property tax decrease citywide. I think that might be hard to achieve going forward. What I do know is that the funding that was just approved for the Fifth Ward TIF, a lot of it, the plan is to use specifically to enable people to stay in the Fifth Ward. And that's going to be a pot of money that can be utilized, among other things, to support people who are having trouble paying their property taxes in that region. So there are opportunities, I think, to provide support for residents who are just looking at that giant and sometimes growing bill and saying, I don't know if I can figure out a way to stay. But then there's just the housing costs question as well. And there's, I think, a lot the city needs to do there. And some of that's just about money, about providing funding to support affordable housing, which, again, the TIF should provide us with an opportunity to do. We've generally had ambition around affordable housing that was a lot beyond the resources that we had to fund it. But I think we also just need to work in partnership with the Housing Authority of Cook County, with the state government, but especially with the federal government, because those are the folks that have a printing press that can make money, to find the resources we need to provide for affordable housing. You know, the truth is, and it's an ugly truth, and frankly, it's a racist truth, a lot of places don't want affordable housing. A lot of communities reject the idea of affordable housing because they're concerned about who it's going to bring into the neighborhood. And we need to capitalize on that and say, if somebody else doesn't want that funding, we want it. We want affordable housing here. We want affordable housing to enable people to stay in the neighborhood, perhaps not only where they grew up, but where their parents and grandparents grew up. And we want affordable housing to enable people who are not wealthy, people who want to come to Evanston, to be able to come as well. And so there is a lot, and in recent times, because of these bills passing on the federal level, a significant increase in federal funding to support affordable housing. We've got to grab as much of that as we can and use it to actually provide housing that makes it possible for folks to stay here and for folks to come here. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Councilmember Bobby Burns from the Fifth Ward, who is really, really committed to this issue, has just we're working together to create a new, it's probably going to be a task force called Here to Stay, that's specifically going to work on this issue and this issue alone. What we can do at the city level to make it affordable for folks who are living here and want to stay here, but are concerned about their ability to do it financially, to in fact stay in Evanston. And again, I don't want to promise that we've got a magic wand, but we have some tools and we have the will to use those tools.
Shout out to Bobby Burns. We had him on here as well. So thank you so much. Thank you all, Mayor, Thank you, Mayor, so much for coming on and talking to us. We greatly appreciate it. So much information. We wish we could have you on till 11:30, but we know you have a day. So I'll kick it over to Ms. Kim. Go ahead, Ms. Kim.
Yeah, again, thank you. This has certainly been a treat. So I'm going to forgive everyone for not dressing up and left me out here hanging, but this has been a treat. We hope you will come back, have some more coffee with us. As Kai said, this information has been amazing to learn so much this morning and to sit down and just share with us. So we hope everyone has enjoyed the show. We'll be back again next Saturday. We want everybody to be safe this Halloween weekend. I won't be out there. I'm hanging up my hat after the show, so I won't be out there helping EPD, but we want EPD to be safe as well as everyone else and enjoy and have a good time. We thank you as always for tuning in. Happy Saturday.
Thank you so much.
Showing us the way.
listening to Evanston Cradle to Career on Radio La Difference Chicago. Please tune in again next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another show.
Show us the way. You show us the way. Action. Advocates for action.
You've been listening to Evanston Cradle to Career on Radio La Difference Chicago. Please tune in again next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another show.
Advocates for action. Showing us the way. Showing us the way. Advocates for action. Advocates for action. Showing us the way. Showing us the way. You're showing us the way. You're showing us the way. You're showing